Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name's Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
Bloody hell, what a week for games, huh?
So much news.
I'm so tired of the bad news.
The bad.
It's so much bad and so few good.
From multiple companies.
Yeah.
Nintendo last week. Sony technically also last week, but a bit this week. And then Microsoft was like, hold on, guys.
Hold my beer.
You haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
Watch this. And then just does a bad skateboard trick and
Yeah.
absolutely eats Flip on the tarmac.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
Sony backtracked. You can't backtrack from closing down studios.
JK,
Microsoft.
what if they put out one of those, you know, the big background, the black background on Twitter with the text on it and it just says JK?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Lol.
It's just a prank.
Yeah.
It's just a prank. Anyway, we'll get into that later
will.
on. How are you guys doing? You all right?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
bad, thanks.
We had a lovely sunny day yesterday.
We did.
The UK is finally feeling like it's getting towards the summer.
A little bit.
Inch by inch. And yesterday it was sunny and it was like 16 degrees. Last week we had
Your
a
car
sunny
said
day.
20, didn't it? Which was
Whoa.
mad.
Drive home, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty nice and wham. And we were out filming our video game yesterday in my garden. And it was, it was a
That's
lovely
why we're
day.
all so tanned. Look how
Yeah.
bronzed we are.
Yeah, look at
Yeah.
my arms.
So bronzed.
It's not
no
like-
need to shield your eyes.
Yeah.
Bronzed.
It's not like we started filming this game in the winter, so all put coats on, and now are finishing filming it, all the outside stuff, in the summer. So
coats
now
on.
we have to have our coats on.
We're just relying very heavily on Alex to color grade everything in the edit to make
look
it
the
look
same.
like it was shot in the
Yeah.
same season. But
But hey,
it'll be fine.
you're not expecting this to be a blockbuster movie.
Yeah, just to be
so-
clear, you guys aren't expecting it to be like really good, right?
Because it's
Good.
not going to be.
Because it's going to be coherent,
yeah.
but there will be
Truly, like,
inconsistencies.
Phoned in.
Yeah, truly the best we can do in some places. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're fighting for our lives out here with
It's
like
gonna
no
be-
skill, like barely any equipment, just trying our best.
It's going to be a real experience for you. Let me tell you that
Hobbled
much.
together.
But yeah, it should be fun. We're having fun shooting it, taking a little break now because we've got some holidays coming up. Some holiday
and the boys
vlogs.
wanted to have haircuts.
Yeah.
I so desperately need my
too.
hair to be shorter. I'm so sick of it
It all just
being
comes
this,
out on the sides.
this
Fine.
big.
Peter's, I feel like, is much more noticeable than yours.
Yeah.
Like I don't
My hair just gets big. It just like
expands. does it?
yeah, it's too. I don't like it. I usually have a number 2 haircut.
Oh. You go
Which is
for a number
really,
two, at
which
balls.
is at balls, yeah, which is really close and
Yeah,
very
it's
short.
close.
And I usually get my haircut every month, but it's been like 3 months because we've been shooting this game. Anyway, it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and hopefully we'll have more details on our game to share with you very soon. We've got some sort of sponsor this week, haven't we? Is Dead Island 2 the Spider? Is he here this week? Has he come
Like when
out?
we look down there now. We used to look. Where did we used to look?
In the
He was
corner
up
over there.
He's been
No,
around.
I don't see him. There's always cobwebs, but there's always signs he was here. But
I think if we took off the plastic trunking that's going around the wall,
there'd be
covering
1,000
wires,
spiders.
a lot of Dead Island 2s in there, I
Yeah.
reckon. So
A
it's
few dead Island 2.
it's very reassuring to know that he's always close, even if you can't see him.
Yeah.
Dead Island 2 the
Like a
Spider
rat.
is always nearby.
Yeah.
No, we've got an actual sponsor this week. I've got the ad read here. So you know what they say? I've said that in the wrong tone. You know what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what they say?
You know what they say?
Sun's out, anime swords out, right? I bet you guys can't wait to get your
Yeah.
anime swords out and do some swinging and some slashing.
Yeah.
But swinging that anime sword is just such thirsty work, especially in weather as nice as this.
All right. I already know where this is going.
The script says gesture at weather.
Right.
Okay.
As nice as this. Lost my place. Well, don't worry, because Anheuser-Busch InBev have you covered. Introducing for a limited time, Stella Artois Blade.
Oh, not what I
What
expected.
did you think?
Final Fantasy.
Oh, that's also good. You can save that for your next one.
Yeah.
And we'll
I've
pretend
just-
we haven't
I've
heard it.
literally just got it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Stella Artois Blade.
Like Stella Blade game that came
Exactly. So there's a collaboration
out. Right.
to celebrate the beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
It's technically still spring.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy Stella Blade, the game that just came out a couple of weeks ago now, I think, alongside a refreshing glass or can of Stella Artois. And on the front, it's got the lady and people are
Stella.
furious. Stella from Stellar Blade. And people are furious because they've censored it, and it's PC culture gone mad. They've made her no boobs on show. It's very conservative.
Because Crystal Dynamics did that.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamics don't like nudity.
People are very cross. So Stellar Artois Blade available now in all good supermarkets.
Wow, cool.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm
I
looking
can't
forward
wait
to
too.
drinking one, definitely.
Yeah,
for a
I
real
love
drink
beer.
this
In weather.
summer.
I love beer.
Such as the nice weather, such as this. It's not true, obviously.
Oh,
it's not
what?
real.
Yeah.
Stella Artois is real,
Crazy.
but doesn't have the greatest reputation in the UK.
No.
Don't know. I wonder if it got different reputation in other European countries. Stella
Is
Artois.
Stella the gammon beer?
It's
Yob beer.
often referred to as wife beater. I
Oh
believe.
yeah. I never remember which one that is.
Yeah, it's a lot of lagers, to be
Yeah.
fair. Most of the lagers,
Lager
but that one in
piss.
particular. Anyway, if you're in Belgium, let us know how you enjoy piss. Is
Yeah.
it good? Don't
Is
know.
the piss better over there?
Do you behave more appropriately when under the influence of the piss?
Maybe.
Who knows? It's not the sponsor. We are, of course, sponsored by our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump and support us there, you get access to all kinds of rewards, including early access to weirdest and worst games ever, exclusive access to Rules Boss and Main Menu, and you get to submit questions to this podcast. There's other tiers and other rewards available, including physical goodies. So go and check that out. Right meow. We've got a couple of things out this week, right?
Yeah.
You right?
What's
Yeah.
up? I wrote it down.
Panicking.
No, I feel like I skipped over something, but I didn't, did I?
You're
No.
good. Oh, maybe you did. Normally there's the website bit there. I think I might have cut that out last
I think
week.
you did, yeah. That's why I'm thrown. It's gone.
Oh, right,
I'm
yeah.
looking for it. and it-
TripleJumpShop.com.
Yeah, it's
To
gone.
buy some sick and cool merch.
TripleJump
That's right.
is our website.
I don't know why it's gone.
Where's it gone?
I don't know.
That's why I was staring at it like, I normally do a little bit of housekeeping
TripleJumpShop.com,
first, but it's disappeared.
This
Get on
template
that.
is slowly breaking
Maybe it's
down.
the website as well.
It
goes
really is.
there.
We've still not
It
got...
still says Utro.
It says
instead of
Utro.
outro.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm owning it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got websites.
Can we bring it back for next week?
Yeah,
'Cause did you
it
see
will
my
be
brain
back.
just shut down? Then?
Yeah.
Something went wrong. It was like,
Yeah,
hang
yeah,
on.
yeah. That's my
Something's
fault.
really wrong.
Sorry.
Anyway, regardless, there's a few things out on the channel this week. Isn't there, Peter Austin?
Yes, there is, Ben Potter. We have got a Worst Games Ever episode, Terminator Salvation, Terminate, as he says in his... yeah.
Yeah, he's not in it, I don't think,
Gets
is
to
he?
the helicopter.
Arnold.
No,
He's not in this one.
no.
Batman's in it, though. Christian Bale.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
You'll have to
okay.
watch the episode and find out, won't you?
Yeah.
Nah.
All right.
Hate that show.
Fair
Hate
enough. Just because you're not on it.
No.
You could watch something else though, Ashton, this weekend if you wanted to.
I could, well, I'm a patron. So
Yeah.
I could go over to patreon.com/Team TripleJump and check out the crazy insomnia vlog that is up maybe now, potentially.
I think so.
Yeah. And you can see what we got up to at Insomnia, see what shenanigans happened, and also you can see another video where we did a live action D&D thing at Insomnia, and there's like a whole video of that because we basically filmed the whole thing, and we were like, it's too long for the vlog. Additional content. So there's 2 whole videos up on Patreon this week, as well as Rules Boss that went out this week as well. So
Yeah.
loads of content over there if you fancy checking it out.
So those 2 things, the vlog and the D&D thing, are exclusive to patrons. That's
They are.
not going on the main channel, just some bonus additional
Yeah.
content, as you
There's
said.
too much kind of music and stuff in it. that-
Well, exactly. We said to James, listen, if we make it for Patreon, you can put whatever you want in it. And by Jove, he did do that.
He did.
He
He
certainly
did.
did do
It's
that.
true.
So that, I believe that's releasing on Saturday evening, potentially. So if you're listening as soon as the podcast releases, then it might not be
Few
out yet,
hours.
but it should be with you later on today. So please be excited and please enjoy. Shall we get to question 1 and start the misery parade?
Let's look at all the red text
Du-
I've got
du-
for my
du- du.
read that
It's
I've got
the
to
misery
do about
parade.
this story. So question 1 comes from Cormoran Strike, as in, oh, take cover. Who says, hi Bab, what do you think about the way Sony and Arrowhead Studios have handled the Helldivers 2 situation this past week? Why did they try and implement such a policy at all and then backtrack on it? Does this say anything about the future of PlayStation games on Steam? Context.
Yes, please.
Yes,
So
please,
this is the
Peter.
initial statement that was put out by Sony that started this whole thing off. Out of nowhere, Sony posted on social media and various places, due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. And they later continued, current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May the 30th and will be required to have a linked Steam to have linked a Steam and PlayStation Network account by June the 4th. This didn't go down very well. The game was, as a result, delisted in about 170 countries due to them not having PSN network coverage. PSN network, that's a tautology. Valve also issued refunds for the game to players with even over 100 hours of gameplay, breaking their usual rule of 2 hours, at which point you can't get a refund. Sony quietly changed a section of the PSN FAQ, which used to read, do I have to sign into PSN to play games on PC? And the answer was, signing into PSN is optional when playing a PlayStation game on PC. They changed it to, some PlayStation games may require you to sign in and link to an account for PSN. According to Video Gamer, on the official Helldivers 2 Discord channel, Spitz, community manager, revealed that they are no longer an Arrowhead community manager, and they are not working for the studio at all now. Per Games Radar, Spitz made it clear that this was not a voluntary departure. As for why they've seemingly been let go, Spitz posted on Discord saying, generally, it's not a good idea to tell people to refund and leave negative reviews when you're a community manager.
Everyone is rallying behind this guy like he's a martyr, but like, I think it's so crazy that he almost did it and just, was like almost shocked that he got sacked.
It's a bit of I don't say it's a silly thing to do. It's like, but yeah, you have to know what you're.
Yeah.
You surely
Everyone's
know
like,
what's
I
gonna
can't
happen
believe
here.
he got sacked, and I'm like, I can.
Yeah, totally.
I can.
It's literally not his job.
So what else have we got? A member of the Arrowhead team has made it clear that the change came from Sony themselves and not from the studio. And then everything sort of got better again. So this is from Push Square. After being utterly bombarded with negative user reviews on Steam, Helldivers 2 is now enjoying a return to normalcy on that front. As tracked by SteamDB, the co-op shooter has amassed over 200,000 positive user reviews since Sony decided to reverse its PSN requirement decision just a couple of days ago. That's almost enough of a reversal to put things right. Helldivers 2 now sits at a mostly positive rating overall, even if the recent review period still shows up as mixed. Given that the game was hit with around 300,000 negative user reviews last week, a truly massive mobilization, it's one hell of a turnaround, and it's likely the positive ratings will continue to rain down over the coming days. And this is in the wake of Sony's backtrack statement, which said, Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning what's best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again
and
for your
loud
continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans.
Do you know what I love
Dear
about
Helldivers
this?
2 community.
Do you know what I love about this?
JK.
Is that we always say, vote with your wallet and make a stink when like things are bad, and then we'll turn around and in the same breath say, but we know that we're only kind of the minority here. We're like the people who are really into gaming, so like we can never, you have to all make a difference. And I think this is really promising in that, maybe it's only just that PSN was going to get implemented, which is not like a small thing, but it's like in the grand scheme of issues that we've had in the last few years, it's just kind of like a bit annoying if you like look at it at face value. But it's still got rebutted by people actually making their voices heard, by making a difference, by getting refunds and review bombing things. Review bombing isn't always the healthiest thing to do, and it can sometimes be used in really negative ways.
Yeah, it depends on the reason.
But I just think it's really promising that things like this have made a difference, and hopefully will help the next time something goes awry.
Yeah, to review bomb in inverted commas a game for an actual decision made by the publisher pertaining to the game itself that has had very real effects on people who have been able to play the game up until now, and then suddenly 170 countries can't play it anymore. I think that, I would argue, is a reasonable thing to leave a negative review of a product about, whereas I think review bombing, because
There's a trans character.
Or because like a member of the team is of a certain demographic, or something like that. That's a whole different ball game. And I think there's a time and a place for review bombing. And as you say, Ashton, this proves that you really can actually make your voice heard by doing things like this. And the fact that Valve were issuing refunds as well, Sony presumably were somehow losing money on that. I mean, I don't know actually how Valve does that, given that they were going against their own policy. Maybe Sony can argue, hey, look, if you want to like spend your own money, Valve, like issuing refunds, then go for it. But it's not coming out of us. I don't know.
I don't know if it's like
terms are.
If you could say, well, I'm not going to be able to play this game anymore.
Yeah.
Then surely they have to give you the refund
so.
back. And maybe it was also Valve going, we're not doing. You have to figure this out because this is affecting our.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I hope it was out of Sony's pocket.
I mean, it will be coming out of Sony's pocket as well, as the publishers. But yeah.
What were they thinking?
Yeah.
What were they thinking? It's not unusual to have a game that you need to sign into an account to play. Microsoft does it with Minecraft on different platforms, etc. Playing devil's avocado, as stated in your write-up there, this was always the plan. It was meant to be there at launch. And if it was there at launch, people would go, oh, for Christ's sake, but they'd probably do it. Introducing it at this point is just such a phenomenally boneheaded. Anyone could have seen that there was going to be a massive outcry over this,
especially when certain countries then aren't.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, even removing that aspect, which is a huge point of contention for probably most of the player base anyway. Adding in an obstacle to access a game that you've already paid for and already put a lot of time into, it's going to be deeply unpopular. I don't know why they thought they could get away with it. I'm glad that it's been reversed. In terms of Cormoran Strike's question, does this say anything about the future of PlayStation games on Steam? I don't necessarily think so. If they are going to include a mandatory link your PSN account thing, it has to be available or it has to be enforced as soon as the game launches. But also, they've turned a molehill into a mountain here. I think now, even if quite reasonably they request people to do that from the launch of whatever game it is, people are going to turn their nose up at it because such a huge stink has been made of this because they mishandled it so dreadfully. So I don't think necessarily this is going to impact PlayStation games release on PC in a major way, but I would imagine that they're going to have to rethink including any kind of mandatory PSN connectivity.
Well, yeah, that's how I would answer the question. Does this say anything about the future of PlayStation games on Steam? I think yes, it does, in that they probably aren't going to try it again. Hopefully, as you say, or they'll have to be very careful how they do it. I did. Purely for brevity, I did actually skip over part of their statement, which is where they explained why they were doing it. I'm not trying to be deceptive or anything, but it was basically that they argue it's the easiest way for them to enforce rules and stop cheating and griefing and things like that. If they can say, well, you're attached to an account that we have control of, if we catch you doing things that are against our terms of service, terms of use, we can ban you. And they said it also makes it easier for people to appeal bans as well if it's happened for reasons that are unfair. So they had reasons, or at least they gave reasons. But I think, as you say, Ben, to implement it after a game has launched and been so successful, it's so blind to do that, And I've seen people speculating online as well that because the game has been so successful that trying to get Steam users now to link it to a PlayStation Network account, it's almost just a way of trying to bring PSN to the attention of certain PC gamers who don't currently play anything else on PlayStation Network or Sony games. So it's like, they're saying, oh, there's all these PC gamers who like our game. If we make them make a Sony account, maybe they'll buy a few more games.
Yeah, but they always said they were going to have a PS.
Exactly,
if it was like randomly just like, oh, you have to do it now, then maybe.
I agree.
If it's
people are speculating, and I agree with you that I don't think that's actually the reason.
But I do think that we live in an age where private information is basically currency, in that you can, everything wants you to sign up to something. Everyone wants your information because it's useful to them and because it just means, for example, a Tesco club card. Yeah, you can get 50p off something, but you have to exchange your private information in order to get it. And it all comes back to like, you know, I don't want everyone to have all of my private information. And if you're a PC gamer and you're not part of the PlayStation, you know, console sphere, why would you want a company that you don't necessarily play games from or like participate in their ecosystem to have your information? I think it makes complete sense not to want it. And I also think that they can't enforce it, and they never could have gotten away with this, because if you have a game that's launched around the world and suddenly 177 regions are unable to follow the rule, and you're like, well, that's fine because, you know, you've not got PSN in your region, so you don't have to have it. Everyone else is like, well, then why do I have to have it? If they can not do it, then why do I? It's kind of like, it's either everyone has it or no one has it. And I think that's kind of also one of the issues, is that if you're going to make someone have it, everyone also has to be held under the same standard. Yeah. But yeah, I think that like, you know, PlayStation is still going to launch games on PC, because if they've seen anything from Helldivers, it's that if you launch it on PC, more people are going to buy it and more people are going to play it. So I would be interested to see what the next game they bring out in which you would require to have PlayStation Network. I mean,
fair game, $.
Yeah,
Payday.
Exactly. But they don't.
Also
but they're not
for those.
Publishers for those, are they? Not
Are
for
they
fair
not?
game. I don't think so.
I thought they were. I
Maybe
thought those
they
were
might
first-party
be,
games.
but
I don't know if they've now shut those
the
studios.
$sign
You
might be.
I can't keep up with them.
The $sign one might be, but
Yeah, whichever the Bungie one is, I'm not sure. If
yeah,
they're
I think
acting as
that's the
publisher.
fair $sign game or whatever. But yeah, those maybe those, but again, unless it's from the beginning, then don't even bother. And even then,
The memes
do you
have been
need it?
funny.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed the memes. Like you see the cape design where someone's made the cape, but it's just the chart of the negative reviews, like suddenly going down and then building back up. The fact that people have pointed out that Sony published a game where the whole point was to teach players about working cooperatively and together, and then they all worked cooperatively to review bomb this game so drastically that it went to overwhelmingly negative from overwhelmingly positive. As you said, it's now back on mixed.
Back to
they're now rallying to reinstate positive reviews. Excuse me. So it just feels so stupid. There's definitely, I guarantee that every stage of this process of them saying, okay, it's time, there were at least a dozen people involved going, this is a really stupid idea. We
and
shouldn't
they just
do
kept
this.
digging themselves.
And whoever
more of a
was
hole.
higher up, as we'll talk about later, someone at the top was like, no, you need to make this happen. And everyone under them was like, all right,
and this
is not going to be
even
popular.
Arrowhead
Just so
was
you all
like,
know,
it's
this
not
was-
us.
We didn't do this.
Yeah.
Which is very, I mean, he's the studio head, I can't remember his name, but he has continued to be sort of a beacon of transparency through all of this. Like he's very popular with the player base for good reason. And the community manager's saying, yeah, maybe you should refund your stuff. Obviously, that person is going to be let go. You can rally around them all you want. And it's noble of a person to stick to their guns like that. We're not saying that the community person who was let go was incorrect or in the wrong. But you can't be surprised that if you represent a company and
Imagine
you tell
I sit
people
there
to
tweeting,
refund,
being like, unsubscribe from TripleJump.
Well,
Unsubscribe.
exactly. What
Unsubscribe
would you honestly,
I'd get
even
in
if
trouble.
you were correct, because TripleJump suddenly started putting out, Bitcoin videos or whatever, then, you would still probably not expect to have a great, life expectancy at your job.
No.
You can't.
It's not even the right
day,
term.
They're not going to say, look, if you don't fair enough. You don't agree with our policy. You do you.
But you are sending tweets, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the whole thing. Anyway, that was fun and probably the most delightful. The next one's not too bad.
No, the next one's pretty nice, yeah.
The big discussion though, get ready.
Oofy.
Get a snack or something. Oofy. But before then, I thought we could talk about games that are doing like really well and that we're really enjoying in a segment called What We Playin.
Okay.
It's What We Playin time. It's time to talk about the games, what we have been playing. Peter Austin,
Yes.
What have you been playing?
On the weekend, I went to visit the family, and I did what I always do now: played some Wii Party, some Wii Sports Resort. Happens every time we go there, and a great time. And then when I came back on Saturday, we went to see, or some people went to see.
It was Sunday.
Star Wars. Was it Sunday?
Yeah.
I don't know what. My neighbour asked me yesterday what I did on the weekend, and I couldn't even remember what I did about 2 days ago.
We went to a food festival
Yeah,
as
I went
well.
to a food festival.
And then we went to see Star Wars.
Star Wars happened, and I hate to be a parody of myself. And as I was sitting and doing this, I was like, I'm going to have to talk about this on the podcast. And I was like, what I'll do is I'll play something else as well between now and the podcast. I've not done
you
that.
didn't.
No, I have sat and played to completion, even though I've already platinumed it, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on the PS5. And I had a really good time. And that's all I've got to say. I've played all that game from start to finish, even though I did it about probably less than a year ago. Or maybe, I don't know, it might have been more than a year ago. But it's one of the few platinums I have, because so often nowadays, I play things on story mode because I don't have time, and that quite often can be a gate, a barrier to getting a platinum on something. Or even if not, I'm not going to hang around and get all the collectibles, or I'm not going to kill like 100 enemies with a shotgun. So I never get platinums, and I never chase them, but I happened to get the platinum for it last year, or whenever it was, by chance, and I've played it to completion again this week, and I've had a really nice time. And you know what? I'm not going to apologise for it.
Whoa.
Flip you!
Oh my God.
Peter, they weren't even saying
Whoa.
anything.
Jesus.
I was actually I was going to play Chia this week, but I don't have PS Plus at the moment, so I need to, because that's the only way I've got access to it. So I need to get myself back on Plus. But there you go. That's it. That's all I've played. Ashton.
I haven't played anything new this week, but I have played more. Final note.
No.
Hey now, whoa.
that one.
I literally thought about this
Finished
a second ago. I was like, don't say Final Fantasy. I know you want to, but it's not what we played. Fallout 76. I've been playing more of that with my boyfriend and meandering around the world of Appalachia.
Is it Appalachia or Appalachia? Because I've heard it pronounced so many
I would have
ways.
said Appalachia, but then whenever I meet anyone in the game, they say Appalachia. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
not
I
sure.
don't know what it is.
I'm just trying to,
Let us know.
We're
Just type the word
in the forest.
Appalachian
Yeah.
down below.
and I'll know which one you mean.
Yes.
And at one point we were just meandering around. We found this guy, and he told us a story of a big goat monster.
You found a guy?
A guy, and he
cool.
said, "There's a big goat monster around here. Haven't seen it. Turn around." Big goat monster spawns in, absolutely huge, kills this guy and his dog immediately, and chases us for ages. And like, we were doing like no damage to this big goat. Like, I was running for my life, and we were just both going, oh no, what are we gonna do? Like,
Hoping
running
to run into a high level player.
Yeah.
Or something.
And then we were just like running across the map, and eventually found a building we could both go into to hide. And then we were both like, right, let's go back outside. And then we were hoping to God the goat had gone, and thankfully it had left. But there was a good like 15 minutes of us just pummeling it with every bit of ammo we had, and just doing like no damage, and just panicking the entire time.
You still enjoying it?
I am, yeah, I am having a good time. I think that like a big part of me misses the story from Fallout 4, and misses a lot of elements from that. For example, I love when in Fallout 4 I do a mission and then the guy on the radio talks about me.
Yeah.
And then I'll be walking along, and Ben's sat next to me while I'm playing Fallout 4, and I'm like, he's talking about me on the radio. That's me he's talking about. And he's like, I know, be quiet. I'm trying to play my game. But the other thing I've played this week, and I have been thoroughly enjoying, is Dave the Diver. Man, I love this game. I can totally see why people loved it and why it won so many awards last year. I kind of dismissed it a bit because I was like, I don't really know if this is my thing. Like, I don't see much appeal in it. But having played it, I'm having the best time. I've been like doing missions and all kinds of things. I managed to like start doing a bunch of missions, and like I'm about 5 or 6 in-game days behind my boyfriend because we've both been playing it at the same time. And somehow I managed to like do a bunch of story stuff that had me like a lot further along in terms of the equipment and stuff that I had, just by like doing bits and pieces differently to how he's done it. And he's like, how are we having such different, like story moments? Like, you've fought these bosses and I haven't even encountered any of them. How have I done that? And I'm like, I'm just built different.
Just skilled, yeah.
But I've been really enjoying that game. I love like the sushi shop element of it. Like I could play an entire game that's just that. And I love the fishing part of it and the story that they've introduced. And every time you kind of dive in, it's different and you can see different areas and different fish. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying it. And I do think that game is brilliant. It deserved everything that it got last year. And I will be playing more of it. Little Kitty Big City is out today.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to stream it.
Okay.
And annoyingly, it came out the day after my stream, so I couldn't stream it yesterday. So I'm going to have to wait at least a week to play it on stream because I want to play it on stream with all my friends. But I'm going to have to wait. So
you can do it. It'll be worth it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's the reception been so far?
I don't know. It's not actually out yet.
Okay,
it comes out in about 6 hours at time of recording.
So
we'll know.
I
don't know if there's any like reviews and stuff that I haven't seen anything yet. They've not been posting, so I'm wondering if they haven't sent out any early release copies. But
done a little swapsy with James.
I could do that, but I have to drive to Cambridge. Yeah. It's my dad's birthday, so I gotta go.
Happy birthday, Dad.
That's all I've played this week.
Nice. I played a little bit more RuneScape. I can't actually remember what I even did in it, but I've reached.
Just meandered about.
I've reached the point now where I tell you what I did. I logged back in because I told you last time that that man gave me the armor, and then I logged out because I was like,
you were scared of him.
Equipado, and I was like, I don't. Flipendo, I don't know. I can't.
And he was still there.
Thing is, though, on RuneScape, you can add people as a friend even if they don't add you.
Yeah.
So you can see when they're online and in what world. So part of me thought, well, if I log in and he can't send me a private message because he's not my friend, but like he would know where I was and he could come and try and find me, track me down, kill me or something. Nothing like that.
One time when I was playing Club Penguin, there was these two penguins that were like talking to me, and then I said something and I was like, I've got to get out of this situation, they're freaking me out, and I left, and everywhere I went they appeared and they were freaking me out. And then I realized that they'd added me as a friend so they could see where I was, and then I went back to my house and they were at my house.
What
and I was like, we've got to go, I was an adult when I was playing it, it wasn't like a child, it was like playing it as a joke, and I was like, we never can play this game again.
If you blocked, surely there were protections in game, right?
Probably.
If you blocked them, they probably
but it was just funny that they just kept appearing. I was like, oh my god, they're back
just
again.
Wanted to be your friend.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what I actually did. I probably bought some runes and tried to level up my mage skill a bit. But I've done precisely 0 quests. So I think next time I actually sit down to play some RuneScape, I will try and start.
Since you started, you've not done any quests?
Not a single quest.
I mean, that's how I used to play RuneScape back in the day. I hardly did any
just
quests.
level up. Yeah. That's basically what you do in RuneScape, is level up. So I think I just absentmindedly had stuff on the TV and I would just click and just let it do it. You know, idle games are all the rage, but it's a little less idle and it's a little bit more involved. So I think next time I actually sit down to play it, as I said, I will try and start ticking off some quests and maybe doing some more of the game, because there aren't that many free quests. The vast majority are for members. And I've never done all of the free quests, and I feel like that would be probably quite an achievable goal. So maybe I'll, at some point, I'm not sure. I played some more Fallout 4. I reached the point where I've reached the point where I'm bored now. I can't really be asked. Like, I was really getting into it and really enjoying it, but like I said last week, I've got like 12 suits of power armor now, and there's only so many times I can go into a build or walk past a building and go, oh, I wonder what the story of this building is. And I go in, and then I've got to hack like 30 computers, and every other suitcase, I need to use a lockpick. And I'm like, and then
you get over encumbered, and it's like...
The loop is tiresome now. I did bump into a super mutant, and he's following me around now, and that's fun. And
is your friend?
Yes.
I bumped into a super mutant, and he blew me up with a rocket launcher.
That's not very nice.
No.
I found, I can't remember what he's called. People will know. I think he's the only super mutant that can follow you in Fallout 4. So he's pretty fun. But yes, I've reached the point where I think I've had enough. And I reached the point where I thought, okay, maybe now I'll enable mods. I can't get trophies anymore, but at least then I can use the Lucy McLean model that someone made that looks way more like it than my haunted Victorian doll that I've made.
Yeah.
But stupidly, even though you can go to Diamond City and a few other places and there's like a plastic surgery where you can redesign your face, you no longer have access to the presets menu that you did at the start of the game. And all of the mods that come with look like Jason Statham, which is one that I saw. They basically replace one of the preset slots so that you have to start a new game.
Rubbish.
In order to use those. And I was waiting for ages to use it, and then I couldn't. And I did loads of Googling, and I was really cross, really annoyed, miffed even. Sorry for using
Calm
such
down,
strong language.
please.
But I did look up a list of the best Fallout 4 mods for PlayStation or whatever, and loads of stuff that improves the foliage, and it's looking a lot more luscious and green. Foliage, sorry. The water looks nice. I did a thing where I have unlimited resources now because I'm sick of having to scavenge all the desk fans that I find. That's boring. I'm bored of that.
Yeah.
So then I just upgraded all my stuff to the best of my ability. And then I understand how mods breathe new life into games for people. But the stuff that I want to solve is usually probably considered cheating, like giving myself unlimited resources. And I think at that point, as soon as I did that, I was like, it's not fun anymore. Even though it wasn't fun picking up all that stuff. It's actively not fun now that I've given myself.
Yeah, you take away an entire gameplay element.
Scavenging for.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's just an entire element of the game that's boring and doesn't really work anymore. So I think I'm done with Fallout 4. I may dip back into it. But I have made my character and played the first 30 minutes of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Oh.
We're working on a video about the Borderlands series that will hopefully be out soon. And it got me thinking again about Wonderlands. And all the Borderlands games that I have played and wasn't blown away by, the pre-sequel being one of them, in subsequent replays, I've actually come to really enjoy them.
I really like the pre-sequel.
And notice things that I didn't notice before. And I'm hoping that will happen with Wonderlands as well. My partner hadn't played it before, and she's a big Borderlands fan. So we're going to go through it together. That's the goal anyway. We'll see if that is stuck to, but so far I've barely touched Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but I'm ready to play through it again, I think.
It put me off when I did all the post-game stuff. Yeah. Like the post-game bits and pieces of like
the dungeons were crap.
The dungeons and like the DLC. I was just like, nah, you've lost me. You've put me off. Maybe I will go back one day, but I think I played the beginning of that game like 4 times when it came out for like various reasons.
Streams and things.
And I think for the review corner that we did and for actually playing it with my boyfriend, I think I played it like 4 times. So it's put me off now, I think. I've ruined it for myself, maybe.
I do that to myself with a lot of games, but I've got no trophies to go for because I already got them all. So I'm just going to play through it for fun, and hopefully I will enjoy it. But I steal my friend's account on PlayStation. I share accounts with him, and he has PlayStation Plus Extra. So beyond Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I'm starting to feel a bit lost now in terms of what to play next. I don't know what to do.
Dave the Diver.
Well, that's one of them. I went through and just downloaded a load of stuff from the extra catalogue, including Doom 1 and 2, which I've never played, and I feel like I should tick those off at some point, having now read that bloody book about it. So, I've got a few things queued up, but Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, hopefully, for me.
Love. Well.
Love.
Now it's time for question 2. Are you making fun of me again?
No, I was just wondering why you said love.
Because I just love that for you. It's just
makes
love.
sense,
I just was putting love into the world.
Okay.
All right?
Have you ever heard anyone just say love,
Love.
as a portmanteau?
I've heard
love
Ashton
that.
say love.
Just now or
A
before
lot.
now?
Well, not a lot, but sometimes.
Okay, that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your
Love.
well wishes. I was just confused.
Sometimes you just try and be nice and you just try and put things out
I
into the
thought you
world,
forgot
and
the
all
end
you
of
get
your
back
sentence.
is just people just being mean. That's all you get back.
Hate.
No, it doesn't work like that. Chris McVeigh says, "Hi BAP, Nintendo has made an announcement, sort of, about the successor to the Switch. I love that they did this, right?
President Furukawa here.
Honestly, like, about as similar as like Sony doing a huge announcement in a blog post is just like whack it on Twitter.
Yeah.
It'll be revealed by March 2025, but not at the next Nintendo Direct in June. With news also dropping that the Switch is on the cusp of becoming Nintendo's best-selling console ever, what do you think the new console needs to do to continue that success? Is the handheld thrown at risk from devices like the Steam Deck or experiments in cloud streaming? And just out of interest, with none of you being particularly big Nintendo fans, if that's fair to say, is there anything that they could announce about the new system that would make you go out and buy one?" Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, I think one thing that they should do to continue their success is kind of just keep doing what they're doing. You know, they've done very well. As you say, Chris, it's becoming the best-selling console ever from Nintendo. So they're clearly doing things generally right. I know they've had issues with like Joy-Con drift and bits and bobs, and stuff doesn't always perform well when it's
Mikey left his
across.
Switch on the plane that time. That was their fault as well.
That was down to them
Yeah.
for sure. But for the most part, they're doing a good job. So I think all they really ought to do is continue to put out some of the the good like first party stuff that they've been doing. Your Zeldas, for example. It would be a good idea to make sure that it can do 1080p 60 FPS, like stable, consistent. I know like that's something to aim for at all times, but it's not the way that things perform these days on any console. I mean, or certainly 4K if we're talking with the big boys. Battery life should probably be extended if possible. Maybe the screen. I've seen some people saying that they'd like the screen to be a bit bigger, but I think the bigger you make it, the less portable it becomes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I agree with that. And I think the real thing that Nintendo should do and should consider is backwards compatibility with the Switch 1, if you want to call it that. And it's something they've got a history of doing with, your Game Boy Advances and your Wii U's and so on. So I think as long as your original Switch games work on the Switch 2, I think they can't go too far wrong. I mean, there's other parts of the question, but what do you guys think they should be doing?
I agree with pretty much all of your points. I would like to see a slightly bigger screen, just because I think that the one on the original Switch is kind of a little bit too small in my opinion, and some of the games have text that is very tiny, and I feel like sometimes it's quite difficult to see. So I would like a slightly bigger screen. Things like the Steam Deck, the only reason they're not as portable as they could be is because you can't take, obviously, the controllers off to make it slightly smaller. If they're going to go for a similar model, I think that the OLED is a much better jumping off point than this original Switch, based on a lot of the improvements that they already made to that, like with the kickstand, and the screen in general is much better. I do think that, like you say, their first party games are I think they're the strongest set of first party games of all of the consoles. I think that Sony and Microsoft have a bunch of first party games that are really good, but Nintendo are consistently releasing games for their handheld, which PlayStation are not releasing any until next year now, and Xbox keep closing down all their studios.
Yeah.
So I do think that it needs to be more powerful just in general. It needs to start catching up with other handheld consoles, but also, and this is the hard bit, needs to remain semi-affordable. I don't know, it has to be as cheap as it currently is, but I do think that it can't be super expensive, because it's going to lose an entire sect of its fan base. The Joy-Cons would love them to be better and slightly more robust and nicer to hold in both in lock and out of lock, if they are going to do multiple versions of it. But yeah, I don't know if I think buying a new Switch would probably make sense for me at this point, because the Switch I've got is 4 years old at this point, and I don't use it that much in portable mode, because for the most part, when I'm traveling, I am either driving the car or sat in the passenger seat of a car, and I can't play a game when I'm in the car like that. I'll be sick. Mm-hmm. So I don't play the Switch in handheld mode very often. So I would like, if we're going to have a Switch which plugs into the TV, for the dock to be a bit more powerful to support higher quality gaming when it's in the dock than, when it's portable. Maybe it's not as good. I like quality. Maybe it's not 60 FPS, but the dock to act as some kind of boosting device to give it a higher quality play on your TV and stuff. Yeah. Would be nice. Thanks, Nintendo. If you could just write all those down and then do them, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Furukawa, president of Nintendo.
Yeah. Please write it down.
Next Switch is coming. Cheers. Anyway, see ya. It's in a reply to another tweet as well. It's not. It's so bizarre. Anyway, I completely agree with everything you guys have said. They're clearly onto a winner. They'd be mad to completely deviate from the hybrid system that they've got at the moment. Unless they want to bring back the DS for some reason, which I doubt. What I'd quite like to see is them maybe just release 2 SKUs right out the gate. One that comes with a dock and one that's basically the Lite, which is just a portable one, which is perhaps slightly weaker, but much more affordable. And that way they can get as many people in immediately. If we're talking about just complete wish fulfillment, why not add an additional cartridge port that allows you to put DS and 3DS games in it? Maybe, I mean, admittedly, then you're faced with all sorts of other issues, like you can't play those docked because you need the touchscreen and so on. But perhaps something like that. You've already got the various games going up on the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. Maybe, I appreciate that the Joy-Con sort of acts the same way, but maybe allow some sort of functionality for Wii games, like as in Wii Wiimotes, to be used as an input device. Again, it's not going to have a disk drive, so it's not going to be able to play Wii games that way, but they could, again, complete wish fulfillment, they could potentially support a lot of older systems this way, although that would maybe upset their model of putting things on a subscription service that they have already. But I agree with you, Ashton. I want it to be more comfortable to hold as much as anything else. I find the Switch very uncomfortable to play. It's just a strange shape. And I know you can get third-party accessories, but I feel like more could be done to address that. More substantial Joy-Cons on either side would be way... Oh, there it goes.
Hey, it's fine.
Would be way more comfortable. The closest comparison that I have recently, because I haven't played my Switch for a long time, is the PlayStation Portal, which I forgot to say I have actually played more of with Fallout 4, and it worked really well. And the fact that it does have just a dual sense on either side makes it really comfortable to hold.
Same with the Steam Deck. Like it's really like it is heavier, and you might, if you're holding it up above your head, it's gonna tie your arms out. But it is a much comfier console to hold than the
Definitely
Switch.
Is. Also,
I feel like I'm not gripping on like I am with the Switch. Like I've got
you're
something to kind of support
You're using
my
like
hand.
fine muscles in your fingers that you don't normally use because you're having to grip something that you can't really hold it like you would a book, for example. So things for them to work out anyway. This is by the by, obviously, but one thing I'd noticed that was actually quite cool about the PlayStation Portal that would actually maybe be something that they could include with follow-up to the Switch is that that you got a little light around the touchpad that changes color. When you turn it on, it's a color, and then it changes color contextually within games. The developers can make it change color. So like in GTA, I think when you're being chased, it flashes blue and red. Or depending on the rarity of the gear you have equipped in a Borderlands game, it will change to the color of that stuff. When you're in Fallout and you turn on your torch, the touchpad will light up green. But they've actually extended the LEDs on the PlayStation Portal, so it runs all the way down the side of each part of the controller segmented. So when I turned on the torch for the first time, like the whole thing lit up green, and it was really cool. I thought that is actually way more effective than it is in a regular DualSense controller. Little, bits of feedback like that. If the Switch will have vibration, I assume, but if you want to add some more stuff like that to it, that would be really cool. A little bit of extra immersion that actually doesn't add that much, but I really noticed it with the Portal when it was changing colors. Like it was way more obvious, and I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
So
I think that there are always going to be standouts in the handheld environment. I think that the other ones that are out are for a completely different sect of gamers. The Steam Deck itself is never going to compete with Nintendo gamers because it's not trying to. It's for PC gamers who are looking for a more handheld experience rather than what Nintendo is, which is more for console gamers who are looking for a more handheld experience.
And the brand is far more family friendly as
well.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
It's the kind of thing that your mum and dad could not just buy for you or a child, but enjoy it themselves as well.
Exactly.
Whereas a Steam Deck, I don't know if the average grandma is going to want to have anything to do with that. Whereas a Switch, she might sort of
play a bit Just Dance. She'll be happy as Larry. But I do think that it is a matter of maybe expanding their gaming, the games that they have, expanding their repertoire a little bit into something potentially like a little bit more akin to what Sony and Microsoft create. We've got all of our standard Nintendo fare, our Marios, as someone told us off pronouncing it Mario recently.
Get in the bin.
Our Zeldas, the Princess Peach game that came out, all those kind of like very colourful, not kids games because Zelda isn't a kids game, but it's got a kind of Nintendo sheen to it, where I think that maybe it would be nice to see some other games that are more gritty, more kind of, realistic coming out on.
It's not always necessary, but
Switch.
those games do tend to go hand in hand with slightly more powerful hardware.
Yeah.
So you would hope that if that is the main focus of this next console,
Yeah.
that we'd maybe see.
We've been
some more
seeing
like
them kind of like dip their toes into getting those games onto the Switch, like with the Arkham games and with other ones that they've, The Witcher.
Free.
Yeah. They've kind of been like new games coming out, the old games coming to the Switch that is kind of hitting those boxes. But it'd be nice to see kind of new games from Nintendo that are very
a
similar.
bit more adult.
Yeah, that kind of answers my. That's partly like my answer for the third part of the question, which is what would they would have to do to get us to buy one. I mean, I know you two already play a bit of Switch. I don't have a Switch other than a sort of a shared office one, which I've never really used, and I don't think it's really for me at the moment because I'm like you, Ashton, in that I would never play it on the go because I'd either be driving or in the passenger seat and I would feel sick, or when I got to my destination. Generally, I don't like to play video games when I'm like away anywhere other than at home.
Yeah,
and
same.
then if I was at home and I had it docked, I kind of just feel like, well, I've got a PS5 plugged into my TV already. So unless it's got a library of games, of exclusives that appeals to me, I'm just going to be playing my PS5 instead because I've got a console plugged into my TV already. So for me, it would have to be probably a much sort of more varied library that's not got it's not just your Marios and your, I mean, Zelda possibly. Like I can see why people enjoy Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It wasn't enough to make me buy a Switch just to play that, but there's stuff on there already that probably I would enjoy if I could justify sitting down and sort of getting to grips with it all. But yeah, I think it would have to be a change to the library to convince me to get one.
Did you answer, Ashton?
Yeah, I answered first, I think.
Did you? About what it would take for you to get to buy one?
Yeah, I thought I just said that, didn't I?
Did you? Sorry, I thought Peter was. I didn't hear you answer.
You said that you would, if they
Everything I've
changed
said
their
is the reason that I would buy a Switch. I've said that I would probably buy one because my one's like 4 years old, so I would be really more inclined to get one. I couldn't remember a single thing I just said then. I had like a complete brain melt of like.
Yeah,
did
you answered that question first. I think
one
that threw.
4 years old.
Sorry, yeah.
Anyway, I get real FOMO when new hardware releases. Like I see it, and
Like
even
the
if
PlayStation Portal.
Exactly. Well, I mean, even way past it coming out and all the reviews, I was like, don't need one of those, or do I? But the VR2 was the most recent one where I just thought, I don't need that. I don't want that. I'll never use that. And then when it came out and everyone was talking about, hey, it's actually really good, I thought, man, maybe I do want one. I don't, as it turns out. So, currently, we have no idea what this thing is. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know what games are going to be available.
Yeah.
Chris is correct in his assumption or his suggestion that I'm not a huge Nintendo fan. There are definitely Nintendo franchises that I really like, but I'm not going to be there day one for a Zelda. I'm not going to be there day one for a Mario.
I think I've probably played the most Mario out of the three of us of recent. I think I've taken the most Switch games that we've been sent and given them a go, and I've enjoyed most of them.
Been of interest to me. It's mainly Pokemon, I suppose, for me, as much as anything else. So if there was like the next big Pokemon game at launch, then maybe I'd be interested. But I would really like to hop aboard the Switch 2 train ASAP, but there's a lot of factors. I think it's going to be price, it's going to be what it does, and it's going to be, is it a significant step up / are they going to be doing this stupid half step thing that PlayStation and Xbox have been doing where they release all their exclusive games on the base Switch for 3 years, at which point why would I upgrade if it's not a platform that I'm actively invested in like I am with the PlayStation, because that's where all my games are, then why would I upgrade if I don't have to? But I would really like to, and if it's a reasonable price, then I might get one at launch. But we'll see.
We'll see. I reckon Christmas. Do you? They say March 2025, so the next fiscal
before the
year.
end of the fiscal year.
I reckon Christmas. I reckon holiday. That's my theory. If they're not announcing it in June at the Nintendo Direct, it'll be towards the end of the year, and it'll be out
25 or
before
something.
Christmas.
They'll need a decent advertising run up, won't they?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they release it in the early months of next year.
We normally get March, June, and October some kind of Nintendo Direct / thing. So I would be interested to see if they announce it in October for Christmas time. It is surprising that like having said that, it's coming before March 2025, and then saying they're not announcing it next month. I do think it's interesting because that is almost like 6-7 months that you're kind of being like, it's not coming next month, but then when is it coming? Do you know what I mean? Interesting.
Yeah. And that's assuming it doesn't slip into the next fiscal year as well. So hopefully soon. But we have official confirmation now. Not that we really needed it, but there we are.
And that would be pretty big, hitting the headlines, don't you think?
Yeah, a bit something. The word strange.
Yeah. And put those together, you get weird news.
It's weird news time for some weird video game news. Remember, if you want to submit some weird video game news to us, you can do so under the relevant social media post that goes out on a Tuesday. However, if you'd like to guarantee a shout out at this point in the podcast, you need to go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at the appropriate tier, and become a podcast producer just like
Chip Thompson's thumbs.
GY Goliath.
Nexus Polaris.
Nicole Hansen.
Andy Scott.
Blake Thomas.
I'm way too high.
Timothy Bentley.
Kyle Gary.
Shaman Nomo.
Great Giggity.
Melody L. Bonnet.
Katie Garrett.
Huge Ass.
Gabrielle Philippink.
Potato_Shack99.
Eric Siu.
And Big Money Bobby Vegas.
You've
written another name, or is that the name of
That's my
It's your weird news sender.
weird news.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Stop
Thank you
looking
so
at
much,
my
podcast
notes.
producers. I thought there might be an extra
No.
producer. Jesus.
I'd have written it down
Yeah, that's what
in the thing if it was.
In the thing, not next to the thing.
I've got some weird news. Would you like to hear about it?
No.
It's from Paul.
I would love to, Peter. Thanks so much for asking.
Thanks.
She's horrible, isn't she?
It's from Paul Ansell, not Ansell. He retired and went to open a wildlife sanctuary. Top fan, Paul
Who?
Ansell.
What is he talking about?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's beyond even me. I don't know what that is.
What is he
Enjoy.
saying?
Eurogamer is where this is from. Xbox rushes to fix Feel the Burn controller promotion following studio closures.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Subheading,
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
That's how you know when a company is tone deaf. This is written by Victoria Kennedy, who says, yesterday, Xbox released a post for a new Fire Vapor Special Edition wireless controller. It looks like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen. Haven't they released like a
Using it
dozen
now.
controllers that are that
Yeah,
exact
there's like a
pattern,
green
but
one,
it's just a
or
slightly
like a purple
different.
one, yeah.
So it's Fire Vapor Special Edition wireless controller, proclaiming it was time to feel the burn as they burned down most of their studios. On any other day, this would not have raised any eyebrows particularly. The controller headlining the announcement featured a fiery theme with burnt orange colors, so the introduction made sense when you read it in total isolation. However, yesterday, at time of writing this article, was far from just another day at Microsoft, as the company left many reeling when, just hours before it published this controller blog post, it announced it was closing a number of Bethesda studios, including Arkane Austin and Tango Gameworks. We will get to this shortly.
Aren't you excited?
Unsurprisingly, Microsoft's controller announcement was met with criticism due to its timing and insensitive nature. That's how you know when a company is tone deaf, came one reply to the initial post. As a result, the company has amended its blog post announcing the latest Xbox controller in its ongoing Vapor series, which includes Stormcloud Vapor, Dream Vapor, and Nocturnal Vapor controllers. The post on Xbox Wire now has a much more neutral headline, introducing the Fire Vapor Special Edition controller. It then continues as before, stating the controller was inspired by flames. With the
No!
Inspired by flames.
Inspired
Yes.
by flames.
With the colour swirls being an expression of blazing fire.
Cool.
And that's sort of the bulk of the
Prometheus
story.
loves it.
Yeah.
Woof. Woof,
Oh,
indeed.
dear.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, I have some news now, and it's got nothing to do with studio closures.
It's not the story
You
I was
sure?
going to bring.
No,
Just
it's not.
realised.
It's not the one you said you were going to
It's
bring.
not. It's also not the one I sent to Ciaran as my news story.
Where did you get that one from?
That's
then?
also on the thing, but I think I sent the link to Ciaran for the story I was going to bring along,
Yeah.
and then I did some of my notes, and then I quickly went to the Facebook page to grab link for myself.
Wait, that wasn't.
got a different
was that
one.
even the question? The when you announced, like at the beginning, I thought you said something about Fallout, and then
Not in the
did that
podcast
one.
recording, but I
Oh.
told you that it was going to be a Fallout.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's good.
So, anyway, also, Fallout 3 in Japan, the cannibalism perk has been changed to Mystic Power perk. So when you lean over a dead body, you can gain health by using a mystical power.
Why
instead
now?
Of
Why
eating
now?
it.
Why now?
Not sure why
Fallout's
now.
more popular now.
I
but,
can-
like, that's Fallout 3's been out
I can have a quick read if you like.
for
while
how
Ashton
long?
does
I can
her
do
story.
my news if you'd
Yeah.
like. Comes from James.
16 years.
Why now?
16 years. Go on.
It comes from James Matthews, no relation.
He's not a podcast producer.
No, he's not a podcast producer, but he's a top fan. By Willa Rowe for Kotaku. New mod adds the one thing Elden Ring was missing. What do you think it is? What's the one thing Elden Ring was missing?
Cars.
I mean, I
Capybaras!
Okay.
capybaras.
Capybara. Great song as well. The largest living rodents now roam free in the lands between. I love capybaras.
Do you?
They're one of my favourite animals.
The biggest
Okay.
I
rodent.
think they're great. When I was in primary school, I did a really good drawing of one. And now
chasing
and
that
ever
high ever
since,
since.
I've been like, I wish I could draw as well as I did that capybara. From Software's 2022 Epic Elden Ring is a near perfect video game in the eyes of many. It won the Game of the Year awards, blah, blah, blah. You know what Elden Ring is. However, that doesn't mean the game can't be improved. That's what mods are for, after all. Fans with enough technical know-how can tweak, improve, and add any feature they want. The new mod seeks to rectify one of the biggest omissions From Software made when working on Elden Ring. That's right, the game has capybaras now.
Good.
I think
There
it's
they
just
are, look.
only just been discovered.
read it.
Wow. Can you ride them?
Yeah,
Oh, amazing.
that horse.
The Fallout thing has always been, I think, has always been the case, but someone has only just realised that it's happened and talked about it on the subreddit. So
Oh, okay.
there you go.
The mod, officially titled Capybara Island, was released on mod site Nexus Mods on May 4th. Developed by user Delamain, it does exactly what you think it does. Unlike more involved mods that can entirely rebalance the base game, Capybara Island doesn't touch Elden Ring's already wonderful gameplay and narrative. Instead, it replaces its goats, deers, and boars with capybaras. Even better, the mod turns your trusty steed Torrent into a huge, rideable capybara, so you can take the delightfully cute rodent everywhere you go. To acknowledge the game's newest residents, the mod also changes Limgrave's location name to Capybara Island.
Oh.
And that's basically all you need to know.
Oh.
There's capybaras in the game now. And one time when I was in primary school, I did a really good drawing.
Yeah,
of
we're
a
going to need to
capybara.
see this.
I don't have it. Oh, you're drawing? Oh, you want me to draw a capybara?
Oh, okay.
When I drew the capybara, there was one in front of me, so
Okay, we'll draw
I'm gonna
one
have to
from
draw
memory.
Pull
one
up
from
that
memory.
image of
Yeah,
that.
all right. I'll draw you a capybara.
Okay, I'll do my news while you're doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have a look. I'm just gonna have to get this capybara up.
There he is.
What's the great song? Because all I can think of is
There's
capybara.
There's just a song on TikTok where it just goes capybara.
Ah, okay.
Capybara, and it's just a bit of a tune. Anyway, I'm gonna draw a capybara now.
You can do it.
Thank you.
My weird news comes courtesy of Trivia Apostle at Ariel_Kent, that was hard to say, on Twitter, and Josh Lees on Facebook. This is an article from Nintendo Life. Hang on, I agree. Let's just double check. It is random. This is written by Alana Higgs. 3DS and Wii U players beat 14-year-old Halo 2 server record.
What?
What was
Yes.
that?
I'm not saying it again.
Okay.
That
You're
smells
just
great.
She's
that
just
stuff.
huffing fumes.
Yeah.
A group of Wii U and 3DS players have managed to stay online despite servers being shut down for over 25 days. And in the process, they've managed to beat a 14-year-old record held by Halo 2 fans. Stop it.
It's not good. Carry on.
Gaffs Not Laughs via Games Radar has been tracking users who are logged into servers for a number of 3DS and Wii U games since the servers shut down on April the 8th, 2024. The Crazy 8 of the Nintendo network have managed to beat the Noble 14, the final players who remained online after Halo 2's online servers were shut down. The record previously stood at 25 days, 1 hour, and 58 minutes and has been covered extensively online.
Oh.
So here we are. One of the most notable efforts has come from LCD101, who is the final Splatoon 1 player online. Other games where players have managed to remain online include Pokemon X and Y, Mario Kart 7, Super Mario Maker, and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
How do they do that? They just have a console going all the time and just stay online.
Basically, they logged in before they were shut down, and then they couldn't be, unless they're physically kicked off, they can stay there until they log off, and then they can't get back on.
Oh.
So they've broken that record. It goes on, and there's essentially like just 1 or 2 people in the world hanging on various servers just to keep these games alive on the Wii U and the 3DS.
Nice. I like that.
And they beat the Halo 2 record. Right, let's see it then.
So it's not as good as the one I drew when I was a
But
child.
we have no context. We don't know what that looks like.
No, and obviously there isn't a real capybara in front of me, otherwise it would have been much better.
That's not
It's
bad.
pretty good.
Thank you.
I like the eye. The
Yeah.
eye's good.
I like the little ears.
Thank you. They do have little ears.
People can see that at home.
Now draw
There you are, it's a capybara.
That's a capybara.
someone riding it.
Yeah. Draw Elden Ring.
Yeah, draw Ella Den Ring.
Elden Ring.
Yeah.
No, I can't draw people. I can
Can you
only
just sniff the
I
shampoo
can only
for a
draw
bit?
capybaras.
Take that away from you.
It's quite strong though.
Smells good, doesn't
Isn't
it?
it?
It's
Yeah.
good. Feels good.
Anyway.
It doesn't smell good.
Draw a capybara.
Solvent abuse can kill instantly.
I feel great.
Yeah.
Well, that was weird news. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your weird news. We appreciate it. It's time now, though, for the big discussion.
Look, it's like it's jumping.
A little bit. Big discussion time. Time for the big video game discussion that this week comes courtesy of Frederick Jensen. Hi, Bap. Microsoft has announced... You going to say hi?
Hello.
Hi. I was just like, it was a bold move to assume it was Jensen and not
Well, it's
Jensen.
Frederick with a K.
That's
and
true.
So I made a leap.
I'd
Yeah.
have said Jensen.
Okay.
I'd have said Jensen, but I'm uncultured, so carry on.
Frederick. Thank you, Frederick.
Thank you, Frederick.
Hi, Bap.
Hi.
Hello.
Microsoft has
I thought
announced
you were
that they are
pausing to let
doing...
your stomach rumble.
Yeah, someone's stomach was rumbling.
That was
It
my
rumbled
stomach.
like the exact. And I was
Listen,
like, why
okay,
did you do that?
This is
Weird.
important.
We will eventually get to this question.
Hi, Bap.
Hi.
Microsoft has announced that they are closing several studios, including Arkane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Redfall developer Arkane Austin being closed is perhaps not a huge surprise, but closing the developer of Hi-Fi Rush, one of the biggest hits of 2023, a Game Pass success story, and one of their ambassador games to PlayStation. What do you think their current strategy is, guys? Because I can't tell. Well, we've got some context. Right up here.
Do we? Is there any context, or is everyone just as baffled as each other?
Yes. Jennifer Mass, this from Variety, wrote this. Microsoft's Xbox will shut down 3 studios run by its Bethesda Softworks publisher, including Arkane Austin, Alpha Dog Studios, and Tango Gameworks. Additionally, it will be shifting the team at Roundhouse Games to work on the Elder Scrolls Online game under ZeniMax Online Studios. Xbox Game Studios chief Matt Booty announced the restructuring in a memo to staff on Tuesday, writing that the closures were grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which you have nurtured over many decades. We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games, Booty wrote. Some employees of closed studios will be shifted to other remaining game studios at Microsoft. Then it tells us that Microsoft acquired Bethesda owner ZeniMax Media in 2021. These changes to the Bethesda brands come after the close of Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard and amid multiple layoffs across the gaming industry. Bethesda remains one of the key pillars of Xbox with a strong portfolio of amazing games and thriving communities, Booty wrote. As we look to the future, there is an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. In 2024 alone, we have Starfield Shattered Space, Fallout 76 Skyline Valley, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and The Elder Scrolls Online's Golden Road. As we align our plans and resources to best set ourselves up for success in this complex and changing industry, our teams across Arkane Lyon, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, Machine Games, ZeniMax Online Studios, and Bethesda Publishing and corporate teams will be well positioned to build new IP, explore new game concepts, and expand on our existing franchises. So this is awful.
Yes.
And our hearts go out to everyone who's lost their jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of people
It's
all
time
over
to
the
feel
internet.
the burn, as they say.
Indeed.
A lot of people all over the internet desperately trying to find meaning in this. Arkane Austin, of course, was the studio most recently behind Redfall, but is also known for making Prey. Tango Gameworks is the studio founded by Shinji Mikami, who left last year and apparently has taken a lot of that studio with him. which may mean something, might not mean something. They're behind the Evil Within series, Ghostwire Tokyo, and most recently, Hi-Fi Rush. And Alpha Dog Games is a mobile game developer most recently known for Mighty Doom, in case anyone's familiar with that.
It's got to make you, to be under either Bethesda or Microsoft as a whole, it's got to make you worry that like even great performance can't keep you safe in that umbrella, because Hi-Fi Rush, as Frederick has said in the question, was one of the biggest hits of 2023, Game Pass success story. It's headed over to PlayStation as well. Everyone just thought this is the best thing, and the way that they delivered it as well, you know, the shadow drop, everything about it was brilliant. And for them to now have lost their jobs, it's like, what do I have to do to feel like I've got some kind of job security?
Nothing.
Under there.
There's nothing.
Under the umbrella, no.
It just feels like and also everything they've said since, and everything that's come out about everything that's gone on since this announcement was made the other day, is just like total just mind flippery. Like, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody understands why they're doing it. Everything they're saying is contradicting everything that they're doing. And it's all so confusing, and it just makes them look terrible. They look awful in this. And then was it Yabara comes on Twitter and says, please leave Phil Spencer alone. He's just a man. No, he's not. He's a millionaire. You just let a guy go and gave him $67 million for just being a horrible pervert Activision. And now you've like just shut down studio after studio after studio after studio. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it makes them look like the evil guys that they are so clearly are, and it's
they're undoing
drives me
work,
mental.
in fact.
They seriously are.
I feel like we sat here a few weeks ago after they did that weird like little press conference where they sat on those stools and talked to that woman, and like we were like, oh, it's really lovely to see how transparent Phil Spencer was. That Sarah Bond was really transparent with what's going on. They made lots of big promises. And then all they have done since then is just like show us how we were wrong and just make me never, ever trust any of them again. Like, they've just been like, it's so positive. We're doing so good. Things are great. It's nothing to worry about. Ignore everything going on over there. It's all good.
There's been a lot of dissection and pointing out all the sorts of contradictions as well as reactions all over social media and the internet in the ensuing days. There's a follow-up from Bloomberg here that I've got an excerpt of. Speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin, like, and this is a quote, peanut butter on bread, and that leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close these studios to free up resources elsewhere, he said. Jill Braff, head of ZeniMax Studios, said in the town hall meeting that she hoped the reorganization would allow the division, which also develops Fallout and Doom, to put more the division, sorry, not the division as if that's a noun, to put more focus on fewer projects. It's hard to support 9 studios all across the world with a lean central team with an ever-growing plate of things to do, she said, according to audio of the meeting reviewed by Bloomberg.
Then maybe don't buy that many studios then.
That's the thing. It's not just that. It's their whole messaging around the acquisition of both Bethesda and then Activision was that we want to give studios space to develop great games. Yeah. And they are actively admitting that, hey, actually we bought this stuff and we had no idea how to manage it effectively, which that is gross incompetence. And that just proves that these purchases should never have happened in the first place.
Feels like someone in charge should get fired, not like the people who
exactly. We'll talk in a minute about who the buck should stop with.
Yeah, well, and like painting with broad strokes, people are kind of summarizing saying like, oh, it seems like one of the rules for which studios do we close down, it's like the ones who aren't actively working on something that's like, imminent or, beyond pre-production. And it's now making other studios under the umbrella feel like, well, we're currently working on whatever it is that's coming out this year or next year or something. What happens when our game is done? Will we be next when we're no longer, when there's not like a sunk cost, risk of getting rid of us? So it might not even be over yet. I mean, I think a lot of people are now understandably a bit worried, maybe even feeling quite paranoid, or certainly feeling insecure, and I can understand why. So hopefully, people are just sort of it's more of a catastrophization than based in what might actually happen in the coming year. But
but also the thing is, it's not even that like these studios were not currently working on anything. Like it's come out. It's come out since the Tango Gameworks were pitching a sequel for Hi-Fi Rush. That the Redfall guys, admittedly, Redfall didn't do very well, but they were working on a DLC for it currently as of like the afternoon they got sacked. Like
everyone's always
not
doing
that,
something, presumably.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where like it's too far out, and it's like, well, that again is a you problem. If your games are taking multiple years to be developed, then surely that's you that's not managing it correctly. It's not the developers and the teams and the studios that are working on it. That's your prerogative for not having any games ready to go out. Sorry, I'll stop ranting now and I'll let you carry on.
Do rant. This is a tweet from Imran Khan. Hey, imagine being Ninja Theory today. They could drop the best game of this year this month and still close down if someone at Microsoft moves their arbitrary, well, it's not Call of Duty numbers goalpost. And one of the most shocking things that's come out of this town hall meeting that I spoke about a second ago is Matt Booty saying, we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. Just for the record, Hi-Fi Rush won the Sound Award at the CDEC Awards, the Best Audio Design at the Game Awards 2023, the Tin Pan Alley Award for Best Music in a Game from the New York Game Awards, Best Audio from the 24th Game Developers' Choice Awards, and Best Animation from the BAFTA Game Awards last year.
And prestige amongst the consumers, just generally.
Absolutely mind-boggling tone deafness. Yeah. I can't believe, like, everything that they say in the wake of it just digs the hole even deeper. If I can turn my page, I have a bit more as well. This is...
I'm seething. I am seething. Everything I see about this makes me so angry, and my blood is boiling right now.
We've got a series of tweets. I mean, lots of developers from studios that are still under the Bethesda umbrella and the Xbox umbrella have tweeted, but this is one
Not for
from
long, homie.
Arkane Leon Studio and co-creative director Dinga Bakaba, I think his name is, at D Bakaba on Twitter. This is absolutely terrible. Permission to be human. To any executive reading this, friendly reminder that video games are an entertainment/cultural industry, and your business as a corporation is to take care of your artists and entertainers and help them create value for you. Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as straw men for miscalculations and blind spots. Don't make our work environments Darwinist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game. Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can. We've seen it before.
It's true that, again, this is partly, one would assume, based on the same reasoning that lots of other studios and publishers have had for getting rid of people, which is that miscalculations were made during the pandemic, or overreaching, happened because they thought, making loads of money now on all this like pandemic sales. Let's spend a load of money and project forward based on that entirely, and then realize, oh crap, the industry is now kind of shrinking back again, relatively speaking. It is the fault of the people at the top that this is happening. It's not generally the fault of developers.
Yep.
Redfall wasn't great, but
no, it wasn't.
Doesn't necessarily warrant. Certainly doesn't warrant other studios being closed, and it not even really warrants that studio being closed.
Yep. Twitter account called at Prey2 Countdown. Has Prey2 been announced yet? Which tweets every day no, and then in brackets the number of days. This week tweeted, it's over, full stop, day 2,559 of tweeting about there being a new game. According to Jason Schreier, Xbox still isn't done cutting costs. There may have been more cuts by the time this podcast comes out. There have been some voluntary buyout offers sent to ZeniMax staff, apparently. And another piece of hypocrisy that was raised recently is that as part of a documentary series in 2021, this is a quote now, "We acquired Lionhead in 2006 and shut it down in 2016, said Sarah Bond, head of game creator experiences and ecosystem at Xbox. She's now head of Xbox?
Head of Xbox.
Head of Xbox. A couple of years later, we reflected back on that experience. What did we learn? And how do we not repeat our same mistakes?
Nothing, Sarah. It seems like nothing.
You acquire a studio for what they're great at now, and your job is to help them accelerate how they do what they do, not them accelerate what you do, said Phil Spencer at the time as well.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. That's good. I like that.
So it's all like the stuff that Matt Booty's been saying about needing, like that stuff doesn't make any sense in the viewed through the lens of the studios that they have just closed. but this is so tonally at odds with how they have worked really hard from a PR perspective to present themselves, Xbox as a brand, as the underdog brand, as we've spoken about so many times on this podcast. Like, hey, we're Xbox, we're friends, we'll poke fun at ourselves. Here's the mini fridge. Phil Spencer, he loves games. I believe that Phil Spencer loves games. This is so, as I said, at odds with that attitude and that facade that I find it really hard to comprehend that those same people made this call. They are ultimately responsible as the people who are running the division. It definitely sounds like, if his peanut butter on bread quote is to be believed, that they were absolutely ill-equipped to go through with these purchases, did not know how to manage this many teams, and that is their fault. But the call to suddenly close this many studios when Microsoft is as profitable, more profitable than it's ever been, a multi-trillion-dollar company, it just doesn't make sense. It clearly had to be a call from higher up, and it's just mind-boggling that those kinds of decisions can be out of the hands of the people who are making the games.
And how can you justify acquiring one lump of studios and then just closing a bunch of others that you already had, other than maybe, again, quoting Redfall's success? That does not justify looking at Hi-Fi Rush's performance and saying, yeah, you know what, I'm going to close that down, especially when you're also then quoted as saying, oh yeah, what we want is like smaller projects that will give us big awards.
Yeah.
It's madness. And even then, if that's your argument that like, oh, we want to work on smaller projects, it doesn't necessarily justify closing studios. You could just say, we're going to pivot on what you're creating, you know, and like look for strengths within those studios and see how they can perhaps create some smaller projects based on IPs they already own.
What's a high-impact title?
Yep.
What is that?
Well,
do you want smaller projects or do you want a high-impact title? Because you've said both, and it clearly doesn't mean a flipping thing at all.
They had this other Scroogel of a sentence that they said after they've closed down all of these studios, was that the growth that leadership had been hoping for was non-mobile gaming subscription spending flat to low single-digit growth since 2021. What, please, is non-mobile gaming subscription spending, if not live action games and things like Call of Duty, where you are trying to pump more money out of your consumers? Is that not what that is? Is that not kind of implying that non-mobile gaming subscription purchases are surely either Game Pass as a whole or is a live service thing? And if it's live service that's your issue, why, pray tell, are we having an entire section about Call of Duty in your like thing next month?
Is that confirmed? I think everyone's saying
pretty much. I think it was like, don't get excited, it's Call of Duty. I think that like, oh, you can say that like these people love games, and you can turn around and say, oh, but Phil Spencer's he's the people's boss. He's not. He's realistically is a businessman, and what they've done, instead of merging two studios together and saying that Tango, Gameworks, and Arkane Austin are now going to be working on the same project together. We've given them this like thing. They're becoming one kind of like little partnership and working on the same project. If you've got two studios of a substantial size that are both working on individual products that you deem as not necessarily going to either come out within the next few years, which is what you want, or not necessarily going to be the most profitable thing, rather than closing the studio, surely you say one of these things isn't going to work. You're now working together on this thing. Like I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've ever run a business and I know how this works. But from an outsider perspective, it just feels like there's so many other options that could have been like taken before it was just closed down these studios. And maybe had it not been that Tango Gameworks was also shut down at the same time as these other studios, this might not have been such a big deal. Admittedly, obviously closing down Arkane Austin and what was it, Red Dog?
Hang on, let me
something
double check for you.
Closing down.
It was Alpha Dog
Games. Like closing those down maybe wouldn't have caused such a stink if you hadn't have closed down Tango Gameworks as well, which is objectively one of your most successful games of last year. I would deem more successful than Starfield in terms of like the way it's the way it's viewed from an outsider perspective, its legacy. And I just think that this whole thing is an absolute disaster PR-wise, and also for the people affected. And also that in a few years' time, we're not going to be able to play Hi-Fi Rush anymore because the music licenses are going to expire, and then they're going to have to take the game down because no one who works for that company anymore is going to have that information on how to actually fix that. And I just think it's a massive shame. And everything they've done this week has just been disgraceful. Everything they've said is ridiculous and so out of touch. And right now I hate them. And I don't. It
just makes you lose so much faith, doesn't it? Because if we always knew that there's always like the silence brand, on social media where they're pretending to be people and stuff. But as I said a minute ago, Xbox has worked so hard to cement Phil Spencer specifically as you said, like a man of the people. Like, he loves games, he's passionate about games, he can have a laugh, he can be transparent, he can be open about the failures of Xbox like he was last year in that podcast with Kinda Funny. And then for something like this to happen, it's so hard to ever take anything at face value, and you shouldn't anyway, and this is proof of that. But like for these studios and publishers and developers to say, hey, we love games, you love games, let's all play games together with one hand, and then take away just so viciously with the other. It's like, nothing is sacred. And people were freaking out a little while ago when there was talk about some exclusives from Xbox coming to other platforms. This is way, way worse in terms of what this spells for the future of Xbox than that was. Yeah. If you were concerned about Xbox as a brand sort of starting to dissolve, this is definitely the start of that. This is 10 times worse, because what happens now? They've got a big conference the middle of this year.
Yeah.
Are they going to address it?
Yeah.
Their sort of perception among the core gaming audience is in absolute tatters, and rightfully so, because this is a dreadful, unavoidable situation.
Entirely avoidable situation.
Entirely avoidable situation. And we have also been speaking for the past few years with Game Pass in particular, especially when they started acquiring studios, that theoretically, if they get all these studios up and running properly and they manage them properly, we could theoretically have like a really big first-party Game Pass title releasing like every 3 or 4 months. They've got enough studios to do that. And not only have they just closed a few of them, but Matt Booty's pulled back the curtain and basically said, yeah, we cannot manage this many studios. It's like, well, you just bought 69 billion more worth of studios. How the hell's that going to go?
So long in court talking about like how,
it's going to be great for gamers, and it's like, yeah, but no one is safe. Double Fine, Obsidian, like what is going to happen? Just last week we were talking about how Obsidian are such a great studio and they're working on loads of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if Obsidian faces some stuff as well.
They're closing Bethesda next. That's the next one.
I mean, like, you're right that the worst part about it is like how it's been handled, like optically, PR wise. As you say, Ashton, we don't know how to run a business, and maybe if you really just sit down with the figures in front of you, there is some kind of devil's avocado justification for having to make closures, and that I'm very much playing devil's advocate for that. But if we take that as read and say, look, they looked at everything, they said, all right, we made a mistake, we're going to have to close some stuff down. At least handle it in a better way than the way you've handled it. Not put out all these contradictions and just offensive remarks, essentially, about, things like Hi-Fi Rush. That's the thing that's got me the most mad, is like, what we really want to focus on is smaller projects that get big awards. And make
also an absolutely crazy thing as well. Like, why does it matter if it gets awards? Like, surely they've always said that, like, when it came to Starfield, they were like, awards aren't important. It's about how the game, and if the gamers love it, then it's done well. And then you turn around 4 months later and you say, well, actually, we want awards. Can we have more awards, please?
It's just like trying to justify.
Part of me is like, is it because you're bitter? Because your biggest game of the year, your huge game you've been teasing for years, the one that, you had an entire section about that being Starfield, is not viewed as highly in the sphere as Hi-Fi Rush is. Are you just bitter and that's why we had to close it down? Like, is this Todd Howard saying, if you don't close Tango Gameworks, I'm not making any more Starfield? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to find reasons for it, and I simply cannot. What they are doing is nonsense, and
What does it mean for Game Pass? What does this mean for Game Pass?
Yeah.
Because,
nothing. It means nothing for Game Pass.
Well,
They've got so many studios. There'll be games coming out for the rest of time, and it just means that there's not going to be necessarily as many good games coming out.
The reason that these games are starting to release on other platforms is, I would presume, that not enough money is being made through Game Pass subscriptions to fund them. That's always what we've said, and we've always had pushback from people saying, no, it's profitable. You said it's profitable. He's never said it's profitable.
No, he said it made a lot of revenue.
They've never said it's profitable.
A lot of profit.
And so with this, like as more games go third party, as they close loads more studios, is the Game Pass model sustainable? Like, genuinely, is it sustainable? Because they have to be seeing some pretty significant losses there for such drastic measures to be taken. Measures, again, that they didn't need to even take.
Yeah.
But the fact that they are has to mean something. Apparently, Hi-Fi Rush had 4 million players. What the bloody hell does that mean? It's not 4 million sales, it's 4 million players. Is that 4 million subscribers? That probably takes into account Steam sales. It probably doesn't yet take into account PlayStation sales. What does it mean? Are you actively seeing a return on your investment? Is that why this is happening? Like, it throws up so many questions about what is next for, what is Xbox going to look like? We know they're going to make another box. That's what they've said.
Yeah.
But are they now? Is that still the plan? What does Xbox look like in 5 years?
Yeah, is it by putting any given game on Game Pass, does that actually damn it to not making enough money on its, off its own back to justify its existence? Hi-Fi Rush was a huge success, but if a lot of its players, as you say, haven't paid for it directly and are playing it through Game Pass, do they then look at the money brought in specifically by Hi-Fi Rush and say, well, that wasn't enough, and that's how they justify closure of studios? That's what you have to be. So is that going to lead certain studios going forwards to be reluctant to have their games on Game Pass?
The last 6 months have definitely, I think, started to ring that question around in people's heads a lot more. These are not the first set of layoffs we've seen from Microsoft. It's not even the second or the third set of layoffs we've seen, and it's not going to be the last. And if that's the thing, is like, if you say, oh, we're buying Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, in my head, that's like, they're doing well. Game Pass is working for them. Obviously, they've got this spare money to just spaff away on Activision. So why wouldn't they? However, now it's like, okay, so you spent all that money and you just realized that, oh, actually, we're not making any money anymore. And maybe Game Pass isn't doing so well and isn't necessarily like hitting all the boxes that they wanted it to hit. But why would it if you're not launching new games for it every few weeks, like, that are big and quality, like Hi-Fi Rush was? Maybe we'll see another uptick in people playing it when Hellblade comes out in a few weeks. But then, like you say, it's worrying that, okay, well, if I just play it on Game Pass and I don't buy it, are they going to close the studio? Yeah. Is that gonna? What do they need? What are the requirements? Where are the goalposts being set for these games to justify them staying open? It's really horrible, for obviously the companies that are working under Xbox, but I think it's also really horrible for the gamer to individually be like, well, I really like this studio and I really like these games, but do I have to support them directly by getting the game somewhere else? Or is Game Pass okay? If I don't play it immediately, is that going to be an issue? Is my favorite studio going to get shut down? There's so many worries in people's head about their favorite studios and the companies that they really like, and I think it's just a horrible situation to be in.
I firmly believe that this decision came down from someone a lot higher up than Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
However,
the shareholders, Ben. It's all about the shareholders.
There has clearly been a failing in the upper management of Xbox, whether that is the checks and balances of keeping the shareholders and the higher ups at Microsoft, protecting the studios from those business decisions rather than creative decisions, or, as Matt Booty again let slip, that actually they never had the capacity to really run this many studios anyway.
It was actually Jill.
Was it Jill who said that?
Jill said about that they couldn't.
My apologies, Matt Booty.
Matt Booty said that they want to work on games that they've just got rid of.
He did say that. So regardless, there's clearly there's something wrong with the upper management of Xbox, and I have seen a lot of industry and developer Twitter, some within Microsoft themselves or Xbox studios themselves, saying things like the entire upper management of Xbox is rotten and needs to be replaced. Now, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but clearly the buck has to stop with someone. And Phil is the public face of all this. He is in charge, so he is obviously going to take the brunt of it. What do you guys think? Like, who is to blame, and does someone need to go?
Well, it's difficult to know who is to blame when we don't truly understand the reasons. I think we've been given several different reasons. Some of them don't seem to actually make any sense. And others, you wonder if they are actual reasons and justifications for what's happened, or if they're just the line that is being given out by the company. And actually, you know, there is someone higher up who's making it based purely, you know, like we're saying, what are the goalposts? What do you have to do as a studio to be deemed successful and worth keeping around? Do you have to release a successful game? Clearly, that's not enough on its own, because we've got Hi-Fi Rush as an example. Do you have to have a good legacy of multiple successful games? I don't know. Shrug. You know, you look at something like Starfield. I'm not suggesting that they should close down
Bethesda.
Everyone. Yeah, but that game was clearly supposed to do better than it did. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's not made a loss, but that can't be a success story, or the success story they were hoping it to be. You know, Square Enix would be very disappointed, I'm sure.
And we'd have definitely heard about it.
So I don't know who the buck stops with. I imagine, someone higher up than Phil, but it's difficult to know exactly who to point the finger at when I don't think we really know exactly why this has happened.
Like I said, I don't believe that this is Phil's decision. Like, he didn't sit there and go, like, throw a dart at a board and go, that one was the one we're closing. I don't think he did that. I think it comes down to what we've discussed before. It's the same thing with Embracer. The shareholders, these big wigs with big pockets full of, like, loads and loads and loads of cash, are the ones who are making these decisions. They're people who are not interested in games, not interested in art, not interested in the creatives, or the people that are down at the bottom who are making the games. All they see are dollar signs and graphs, and if it's going slightly down, someone's going to have to pay it. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be the guy we just fired and gave, like, millions of pounds to. It's not going to be them. It's going to be the ones at the people at the bottom and eat the rich. But also, I think that it's just, no one can hold these shareholders accountable, because we don't know who these shareholders are. There's probably a list somewhere, but they're going to be just some corporate bigwig who, like, isn't a public figure. And that is why people are aiming their, like, abuse at Phil Spencer.
Yeah, which they shouldn't be doing.
And Mike, I think they should.
Okay.
I think they should. I mean, don't tell him to kill himself. Don't do
that's
death
what I
threats.
mean.
But I just mean, like, if you're going to blame anyone, he has to accept that he is the public face of Xbox. He has to know that he is the one that always says how much he loves games and has been quoted, like in that documentary, saying, we need to support these studios, we need to support these artists, and is yet the one who will send these company-wide emails out saying, we are sacking people, is the one who will have to do the announcements. He has to understand that he has made himself a public figure and the gamer's friend. And when he does things like this, people are allowed to get angry at him. And if they feel like the only way they can get to the leadership of Xbox is by going to him, then I think that he should hear what the gamers think.
Yeah,
Again, do not tell him to kill himself. Don't, like, be horrible in that regard. But I think if you have frustrations that need voicing, like when they let games go to PlayStation, have those feelings, but have them at, like, the person that you feel like you can actually, who can do something, which isn't going to be me. I can't do anything, but I can send a tweet and say, I'm unhappy with this, and I think that this is a real, bad thing for your company. And at least I feel like someone is seeing it who I know works high up in Xbox. Again, don't send death threats. Like, I don't want that, all right? That's not what I'm saying.
I honestly think I'd be quite surprised if I saw anyone from the leadership stand down, like willingly. I think they would. I think they're going to really. The real work begins now in trying to repair this image, and I have no idea how they're going to repair it. But it should never have reached this point. There shouldn't have been these acquisitions in the first place if they weren't equipped to manage these studios. And the fact that all internal signs are reporting to flipping, what's it called? Morale is it's gone. It's destroyed. Internal studios at Xbox are terrified because any of them could be next. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason for the studios that have been shut down. I know Arkane Austin didn't make a particularly good game, but the whole point of the Game Pass structure and various things that they've said in the past is that they're allowed, like they have almost a safety net where they're allowed to experiment because they're part of the Microsoft and Xbox family. They're allowed to try things, make more experimental titles like Hi-Fi Rush, like Pentiment. I'm really worried for so many other amazing studios that could just flipping disappear. It's shocking and so awful, and it just it's difficult almost to stay angry because it's the same story every week. Like it's no longer shocking, but this is like the most shocking one so far. It's so awful, and those people are going through, I don't know, just to suddenly be fired like that when presumably out of most studios working in the world, you're probably theoretically at one of the safest, or you should have been. Yeah.
If this was a movie, there'd be all of the CEOs and all of the like shareholders in a room, and they'd pick someone who would be the scapegoat, and they would say it's this guy's fault. They'd sack him, and then everyone would be like, "Oh, he's gone.
At least he's gone.
Good." Tony Baboni, shareholder of Xbox, has been sacked. Good, good for him.
Yeah.
It's
awful. It's really awful, and it may just be the start as well. There may be more cuts coming, so we will continue to report on that as and when things happen. But we'll have to just keep a close eye on what Microsoft does now.
Yeah.
How do you come back from this, perception-wise? I don't know.
Well, it's Call of Duty, and then everyone will be fine with it.
Well, yeah, we've got Video Game Christmas coming next month, and
we do. What is the reaction?
Got to come out on stage.
They're not going to say anything. It's going to be a video, and they're going to ignore it, like Jeff Keighley does every year. Jeff Keighley will stand there at the game. What is it? E3 Summer Game Fest, and he'll say, "Wow, what a great year it's been for games," and he won't mention a single thing about it because Jeff Keighley doesn't have a backbone.
It's got too many corporate sponsors.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what you think of it all below. Should someone be on the chopping block for this? What do Xbox do now? Is Game Pass going to continue? I think Hi-Fi Rush is pretty much out of an awful situation now cemented itself as a legendary game because it has such a sad end to it. Yeah. To be snuffed out like that when you did nothing wrong. When your studio did everything right.
You ticked every box. Under
$1 trillion publisher. Did nothing wrong. Gone. I think Hi-Fi Rush is now just going to be in the annals of whether or not, it blew you away. It's always going to be remembered now.
Yeah.
Always going to be remembered. But let us know down below what you make of it all. There's a few places around the internet that you can find us. Peter's going to tell you a couple of them now.
You can find us at youtube.com and twitch.tv, both /Team TripleJump. All of our videos out on YouTube. And there's a few secret ones on Patreon. And our streams on Twitch. And if you've got Amazon Prime, part of the bundle you are paying for to another corporate bigwig includes a free Twitch sub. So you can redeem that against us and get all the usual benefits of being a Twitch sub at no extra cost on top of your Amazon Prime.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, on all of which we are at Team TripleJump. Come and give us a follow. And it's patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you're looking for some feel-good content after this podcast, then go ahead over there, and there's lots of stuff to check out.
Loads of lovely things, yes. TripleJ.mup, that's a website. TripleJU.mp, there you can find links to everything that we're doing. And why not leave a 5-star review on your platform of choice? It helps. Something to do with Al Gore's rhythms, and would really appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. I've got today's sponsor here again that I'm going to read for you. It's the collaboration of a lifetime in wonderful weather such as this. Stellar Blade and Stella Artois are combining forces to release Stella Artois Blade, a delicious, refreshing, thirst-quenching beverage for you to enjoy in weather such as this while you're swinging your big anime sword around.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.